Overnight, President Trump's travel ban blocked again. Hours before it was supposed to go into effect, the president, furious at his rally, fires back at the court.
We're going to take our case as far as it needs to go, including all the way up to the Supreme Court.
As top members of his own party say there is no evidence about those explosive wiretap claims, but Trump promises more information.
I think you're going to find some very interesting items coming to the forefront over the next 2 weeks.
Snow-nami, the dramatic moment this train comes roaring into a New York station, sending mountains of snow flying, pummeling people near the track, and now new concerns as more snow takes aim and that deep chill spreads south. The plunging temperatures from Florida to New York and Boston.
Deadly carjacking. The emotional widow taking the stand, testifying about the moment her husband was killed in a mall parking lot.
And I heard bang, bang.
Why did an ambulance take nearly 30 minutes to arrive? And now, new questions about the mall security.
Born to be wild.
And this moose on the loose caught on camera charging people at a ski lift.
Go, 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 go. Oh my God, I don't know where to go.
Another chases snowboarders down the slope. What's making these animals so angry?
Live in Times Square, this is GMA with Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan.
And good morning, America. We have a lot going on this Thursday morning.
Yes, we do. And Robin's on her way to the Special Olympics, and she finally made her flight that we were talking about yesterday. And she managed to get out of this cold, crazy weather. But Amy, you're holding down the fort.
Yeah, but I don't know how much warmer it's going to be in Austria for Robin, but we hope it's a little bit warmer here in New York. And we do have a lot to get to. The president revealing his new budget proposal just moments ago.
It is promising the most dramatic change in the federal government since World War II. Big increases in defense and Trump's promised border wall with Mexico. Big cuts, too. Foreign aid, health research, clean air and water programs. We're going to speak with the man who wrote the budget, Mick Mulvaney, the White House budget director, in just a minute.
All right, but first, the president was in campaign mode last night, holding a big rally in Nashville, talking about the Republican health care plan and, of course, that decision to block his revised travel ban. Our senior White House correspondent, Cecilia Vega, starts us off this morning from Nashville. Good morning, Cecilia.
Amy, good morning to you. First, Hawaii, now Maryland. A second federal judge there issuing a preliminary injunction to block this travel ban from taking effect. Yet another win for the opponents, another hurdle for President Trump. President Trump at a rally in Nashville overnight, delivering that breaking news to his supporters.
A judge has just blocked our executive order on travel and refugees coming into our country.
The crowd erupting into boos. It was the second blow to a signature piece of the president's agenda, that temporary ban on travelers from 6 Muslim-majority countries. This time, a federal judge in Hawaii bringing it to a halt just hours before the new version was set to take effect.
The order he blocked was a watered-down version of the first order. That was also blocked by another judge and should have never been blocked to start with.
But opponents argued the new ban, just like the original one, discriminates on the basis of nationality and religion, and they say it would harm the state's universities and tourism. President Trump calling the ruling judicial overreach and offering this promise.
We're going to fight this terrible ruling. We're going to take our case as far as it needs to go, including all the way up to the Supreme Court.
The travel ban not the only fight in the president's future. President Trump now bracing for a showdown over health care. In an interview with Fox News, he sounded far from confident about the future of his plan to repeal and replace Obamacare.
These are going to be negotiated. We've got to go to the Senate. We're going to see what happens in the Senate. Now, right now, we have 5 or 6 senators that look like maybe they're not. I'm talking about Republican senators, because we're not going to get one Democrat to vote for it.
With a growing number of Republicans joining in the opposition, President Trump says the plan that is already being called Trump Care is far from a done deal.
If this bill were perfect, if it was the greatest thing for Democrats and Republicans, we wouldn't get one Democrat vote. They're going to vote against it because of selfish, because of stupidity, because it's politics. It's really bad for our country, what's going on.
And as for that campaign promise of insurance for everyone,
we will take care of our people or I'm not signing it. Okay, just so you understand.
Now, about that travel ban, the Justice Department says that it strongly disagrees with this ruling coming out of Hawaii. It says that the president's executive order falls squarely within his lawful authority, George, and they are vowing to defend this in court.
Okay, let's talk about it more now with our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams, right here, chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl down in Washington. Dan, let me begin with you. What the judge did in Hawaii is basically go at what opponents of the travel ban think is the strongest remaining argument, that it's a Muslim ban by another name.
That's right, and looking at President Trump and his aides' own words. That's the most interesting and going to be controversial part of this ruling. Remember, we're not talking about ultimately is it constitutional today. We're talking about the temporary restraining order. What should happen immediately? And in evaluating that, the judge looked at Donald Trump's own words during the campaign. And by the way, he wasn't the only judge. Also, a judge in Maryland did the same thing, looking at other campaign surrogates, Trump surrogates, what exactly they've said about the reason for this, and saying, look, even they themselves are effectively admitting that the purpose was to keep Muslims out. Now, that's going to be a controversial thing, and we'll see whether that holds up on appeal.
And John Karl, we saw how angry the president was last night, and his words last night may add more fuel to the fire.
No question about that, George. You know, the first travel ban, which was also faced a temporary restraining order, the president wanted to fight for that one in court. The lawyers convinced him that it was better to start over, to have a new ban that would be tighter legally. But what happened in this is that the judge used the president's staff's own words against him in this way. Stephen Miller, who helped draft that ban, said that the second order was simply minor technical differences, but the same basic policy. Now you have the president of the United States saying that this new order was just a watered-down version of the first one, which means the same arguments can be used against the second one that were used against the first.
But Dan, you still believe that the White House, the administration here, is on fairly solid legal ground with the underlying case?
I do. I mean, look, President Trump is not helping his case by describing it as watered down, because remember, we're not back up to the appellate court yet, right? We're still at the district court, which is the trial court level. This will now go back up to the appellate court, the same Ninth Circuit that heard the opinion before, and probably other circuits around the country. But when President Trump says it's a watered-down version, the problem is, if you want to take his words literally, he's effectively saying, yeah, the same purpose behind the first one exists. And so the court is saying, well, we can now use that against you. So he's not helping his case.
John, let's talk about health care for a minute right now. You've got now, the president cited that opposition among Republicans in the Senate. He might have even undervalued that. You're also facing now major questions in the House as well over whether this bill can pass.
George, right now the votes simply aren't there in either the House or the Senate. The White House is working with Paul Ryan to try to get the votes in the House. What they're doing is they're opening up the possibility of changes to appease the conservative members. But the more you do that, George, you run into problems with the moderates. So this is a really tough battle, but I would not underestimate the ability of Trump to get this done. As far as those conservatives go, he is extremely popular in their districts. He has a lot of leverage, and the White House knows if he loses on this, it puts in jeopardy the rest of his agenda.
And he is making calls to those members right now. John Karl, Dan Abrams, thanks very much.
All right, and President Trump also addressing those wiretapping claims last night as top leaders from his own party say there is no evidence. Let's go to our senior justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, for more on that. Good morning to you, Pierre.
Good morning, Amy. The president is holding on to the notion that he's right, not backing away from those tweets. Instead, it looks like he's digging in, preparing to fight.
President Trump taking to the airwaves last night, suggesting he can prove his Twitter claims about being wiretapped.
I mean, let's see whether or not I prove it.
Trump on Fox News apparently softening his claim, but still offering no evidence.
Wiretap covers a lot of different things. I think you're going to find some very interesting items coming to the forefront over the next 2 weeks.
But sharing for the first time in detail where he got his information.
I've been reading about things. I read in, I think it was January 20th, a New York Times article where they were talking about wiretapping. There was an article, I think they used that exact term. I read other things. I watched your friend Brett Baer the day previous where he was talking about certain very complex sets of things happening and wiretapping. I said, wait a minute, there's a lot of wiretapping being talked about. I've been seeing a lot of things.
None of these reports support Trump's claim that President Obama personally ordered that he be wiretapped. This as pressure continues to mount on FBI Director James Comey to publicly say what he knows.
Director Comey, have you seen any evidence that President Obama wiretapped Trump Tower?
No answer from Comey, but asked that same question, the Republican chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes, had this extraordinary assessment of Trump's tweets.
We don't have any evidence that that took place. And in fact, I don't believe, just in the last week of time, the people we've talked to, I don't think there was an actual tap of Trump Tower. So now you have to decide, as I mentioned to you last week, are you going to take the tweets literally? And if you are, then clearly the president was wrong.
With the White House on defense this week as well, justifying those tweets using air quotes.
He said very clearly, quote, wiretapping, in quotes.
Last night, Trump backed Spicer's explanation.
And don't forget, when I say wiretap, those words were in quotes. That really covers, because wiretapping is pretty old-fashioned stuff, but that really covers surveillance and many other things.
As for Director Comey, it's 3 days and counting before he appears before Congress to face questions about what Mr. Trump said. Monday, Comey's back to the Hill, this time for an open hearing. Amy?
All right, Pierre, thanks so much. And let's bring in our chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz, for more. So, Martha, what do you make of this latest Trump comment?
Well, I think you have to go back to the beginning. Those were very, very definitive tweets that the president put out. His staff later and all officials were trying to say, oh, well, if we prove this, but it wasn't an if. President Trump said that Obama tapped his phones. And right now, what you have is even people in the Republican Party, as Pierre said, are not really backing him on this because their credibility is on the line. This is very, very different. Donald Trump may be doubling down, but so far there is absolutely no evidence.
All right, we even heard from Attorney General Jeff Sessions says he has given President Trump no reason to believe that this occurred. No one is backing up Trump at this point.
Absolutely nothing. And President Trump can say certain things may come out in the next 2 weeks, but unless it is what he said, he's going to have a credibility problem.
Yeah, what could come out? What interesting items could he possibly be referring to?
Well, you heard Kellyanne Conway in the last couple of weeks talk about different kinds of surveillance. I think she even said a microwave oven, or maybe she misspoke there, saying they could surveil you with a microwave oven, your television. And we have heard about that. The television, we've heard about that. But that has nothing to do with President Obama wiretapping President Trump. No evidence.
All right, Martha Raddatz, we appreciate it. Thanks so much. George.
Okay, guys, thanks. So much happening in Washington today, including that blockbuster new budget from the Trump administration, just released overnight, shows a major increase to defense spending paid for with billions of dollars in cuts from the State Department, domestic programs. For now, Medicare and Social Security untouched, does not reduce the deficit, would be a dramatic change in the way Washington does business. We're joined now by the man behind the plan, the White House Budget Director, Mick Mulvaney. Thank you so much for coming in today. I know you've had a busy morning already. So you've got the State Department and the Environmental Protection Agency being cut by almost a third each, 20% cut in the National Institutes of Health. Key members of your own party on Capitol Hill already saying cuts this deep mean the budget's dead on arrival.
Sure, and keep in mind, George, that, and I used to be in Congress, and I represented a district. If you're a senator, you represent the whole state. It's also a lot of special interest involved in the political process. The president's not beholden to any of those. The president wrote a budget for the nation, and we wrote a budget based upon his campaign promises, and that's what you see in the budget. We took his words and turned them into numbers.
But, you know, you also are trying to turn into numbers that new funding to build the wall on the Mexican border. Another issue where Republicans are getting cold feet right now. Democrats are saying that's going to lead to a government shutdown if you try to pass that increase in April.
Yeah, but they always say that. Again, we're talking now about the 2018 budget. There will be some work on the 2017 spending as well in the weird world that Washington works. We're in the middle of the 2017 fiscal year budget right now. There's enough money to run the government through the end of April. The president's only asking for $1.5 billion, I think, for the rest of this year to start the wall. Not that much money in a $1 trillion discretionary budget. So it doesn't surprise me that the Democrats are threatening that. But in the greater scheme of things, the president promised a wall. He's going to deliver it.
But he promised Mexico would pay for it, not the U.S. taxpayers would pay for it.
I'm responsible for getting the money together to build the wall, and that's what I'm doing.
You talk about the president keeping his promises. The president also promised to balance the budget, to bring down the national debt. This doesn't reduce the deficit by a dime.
Sure, and that's absolutely correct. This is a budget blueprint. It's really the spending part of the budget. The federal budget actually has a bunch of different pieces. As you know, we have tax revenues in there, you have longer-term policies, you have mandatory spending. All of that will be encapsulated in a budget that will release in May. This is the first piece of the budget to allow the spending process to start in Congress.
But you talk about the president's promises. He said he's not going to touch that mandatory spending. He's not going to touch Social Security. He's not going to touch Medicare. You can't get to balance if you don't touch those programs.
And the president keeps his promise. There's no question about that. Again, this budget, just discretionary spending. What it doesn't do, George, is add to the budget. So you're looking at adding $54 billion to defense. You're adding to border enforcement. You're adding to law enforcement generally. You're increasing spending for health care for veterans. You're increasing spending for school choice. And you're doing all of that without adding to the budget. Adding to the deficit.
Let's talk about health care for a minute. You mentioned you're a member of Congress. Your former colleagues in the House Freedom Caucus are saying they simply cannot support Obamacare repeal as currently drafted by the president. It's currently drafted by Speaker Ryan. So what kind of changes is it going to take to get this through the House?
I think you'll learn more today. I think the budget will go, excuse me, I'm talking about budget again. Healthcare will go through the budget committee, I believe, before the end of the day today, and probably be brought to the floor after it goes to the rules committee next week. So there's a chance to talk about changing the bill today, talk about changing the bill over the weekend, and then again in rules. Go back to the very beginning of this conversation. This bill was not pre-cooked. We did not do what the Democrats did with health care, which is pre-negotiated and force it down lawmakers' throats. We introduced a framework. As much repeal as we could get given the current law, as much replace as we could get given the current law. If members of Congress want to change that to make it better, that's fine. That's their right.
But any changes in the House are going to make it even harder to get through the Senate.
But again, you'll deal with that sequentially, right? We'll have a bill that passes the House probably by the end of next week, and then we do to make it even better perhaps in the Senate. But again, this is part of the legislative process. If people seem to think that there's a magical bill that sails through Congress, that's not the way any good legislation works.
Mr. Mulvaney, thanks for coming in this morning.
Thanks, George.
Michael?
All right, thank you, Georgia. Now to a close call caught on camera. A kidnapping victim escaping from her trunk, and Eva Pilgrim is here with more. And Eva, this is a terrifying story.
It's an incredible story. Check out this incredible video of a woman's dramatic escape in Birmingham, Alabama. Watch it again from a different angle. The black car pulls away from the convenience store. All of a sudden, the trunk opens and the woman jumps out. The woman now free, running inside, frantically pleading for help. Police say the woman told them the driver tried to rob her, but when she told him she didn't have any money, she was forced into the trunk. Police are still searching for the kidnapper. And Michael, this is a good time to remind people that there's actually a safety latch inside your trunk, and when you're in there, it glows in the dark. So always remember to look for that.
All right, thank you. And Amy and I were saying, I remember when they added the latches to the cars. Now you see why.
Oh, wow, my heart's pounding just watching her. She was walking to her apartment. But anyway, it's such a good reminder. And having that ability to be able to do that and get out saved her life, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Wow. All right, let's go to Ginger, who is in Philadelphia with the deep freeze spreading across the Northeast. Ginger, woo.
Oh, it is so brutal out there. And you know what else is brutal? This video. You guys have to see this from Rhine Cliff, New York at the train station. Imagine you're waiting there. You see the train coming and blast. We also will show you right now in slow motion what that looks like. Thankfully, we didn't see any reports of anyone seriously injured, but I know that did not feel good with the snow and the ice chunks headed their way. Wow. Rhinecliff, you did it. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the hard freeze because it does stretch all the way into Florida, where hard freeze warnings are still out. Naples was just outside of that wind chill warning this morning. 41, the feels like in Fort Myers, 24 in Jacksonville, 19 in Atlanta. I know everybody in the Northeast, Midwest scoffing at those numbers. It's a big deal in the Southeast. You know what else is a big deal? When you just get a couple more inches of snow, and that's what it looks like we'll do Saturday afternoon through evening. You see it, you see it right there. Rain on the backside, but I think most of it stays snow, especially higher elevations. You could even end up with up to 4 inches in some of those higher elevations that already have 2 to 3 feet. So insult to injury and much more cold. All right, let's get to the wind chill forecast now, brought to you by Maxwell House.
You think no one sees you, but we do.
Maybe a lot of people have forgotten the value of a hard day's work, but we see it every day.
You see it on your face, smell it on your skin. So never think no one sees you, because we do.
The taste enjoyed for 125 years by those who proudly work hard. Maxwell House, good to the last drop.
Another bundle up kind of day. Our temperature starting out below freezing. Today we'll get above freezing by recess time, lunchtime for the kids. 40 the high, more sunshine. That means more melting today. But after 9 o'clock this evening, our temperature drops below freezing again. Tomorrow, the high about 50 degrees, and we'll be tracking some rain after 7 o'clock and up until 9 o'clock. Just some brief light showers. The weekend not bad with a high of 57 on Saturday, 47 on Sunday.
And